That's so important, especially because I feel like, especially Black women, we're stigmatized when we do go non-traditional routes or, have blended families. And I love that you've been such an advocate for normalizing that and destigmatizing it. On this journey,
because it's normal, right?
It is. And I don't know why it is.
Our family, we always, my cousins, neighbors, everyone, we were the house that people came to stay, and you got enrolled in school, and you just became a part of the family. And later, when I, moved, and we weren't, my family members weren't right down the street, trying to explain who the person that wasn't blood related to me was in our house and why I call them family. Now I'm kind of like, I don't need to explain anything to you. It just is. And celebrating the existence of all different kinds of families. And and sometimes it's just you need that space. I've been cussing a lot. I'm trying not to cuss. That you just need this space to exist and be okay with celebrating whatever it is that that exists in your household. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. Through that celebration, what have you learned about family?
That a lot of people were like, thank you. It's hard sometimes to see yourself reflected in media or literature or TV shows or film. We tend to normalize one way of doing things, and anything that is outside of what society has told us is the right way, we either try to erase it or minimize it, and certainly we don't celebrate it. And so just the sheer number of people like, thank you for creating a book with a happy Black family where, you see hair texture and, facial expressions, and you're like, oh shit, like, damn. Okay. Yes, we are there. We are woefully missing so many elements in media that are more representative of all different kinds of folks, and certainly all different kinds of families. So it's just been a tremendous outpouring of support and visibility, and just thanking us for creating something that allowed for more space for more people to be visible.
Yeah, the images are so rich. I love how Black and beautiful it is. It's such an adorable book. You recently said, yeah,
she's a dope Black illustrator. Yes.
Yeah, shout out to her. You recently said in a Refinery 29 op-ed that you absolved yourself of mom guilt, which I love. I love that so much because I feel like there's just a lot of pressure, to get it all right. Was absolving yourself of that something that came intuitively, or was that something that you had to work to unlearn? Like, what was that process?
I think because I'm a OG vet, of life. But I'm a rookie at being, the mom to Kavia James. So I wasn't sure, as a step parent, because just the nature of my life throughout most of their life has been working in a whole other state during the week and then being home for 36 hours on the weekend. I didn't have space to feel guilty, you know what I mean? And luckily, my stepkids were like, ooh, make that money. Like, like whatever you got to do, because they understood that I have to take care of a number of households, not theirs. Their dad does okay for himself, but my bills don't change, have not changed. And I have, a lot of people to be responsible for, and I have my own hopes and dreams. So they never made me feel guilty. No one ever made me feel guilty about having a full life and a career that I loved. So I was sort of absolved in that sense, but as a lot of people, you were only a step parent. So now with Kav, a lot of people are like, well, how do you balance it all? And I'm like, I don't. And I'm okay with that. And you should be okay with that if you are close to me, because there's only so many hours in the day. I can't do it all, and I can't be amazing at all of it. So why, why guilt myself over something that's actually impossible to achieve? And I just try to surround myself with people who aren't going to judge me or make me feel guilty. You know what I mean? Like, if you see that I need some help, I would appreciate it, you offering it. But what you're not going to do is make me feel guilty about having a big life. And my big life is making me a better mother.
Hello. My grandmother had 8 kids, and I remember she told me that with each kid, like you are always learning as a parent. And she had 6 daughters. One thing that I really admire about you is the care that you take for your daughters. Zaya is so brilliant. Kavia, like we stand her, such a moody icon. Like love it. What have you learned, especially about girlhood, Black girlhood, and how it should be revered in raising them?
I've had to unlearn everything that I thought I knew about being a woman, being a Black woman, societal norms, and all of that. A lot of just understanding that so much of what we're taught about what it is to be a good woman and a good Black woman is rooted in our own oppression. And just unpacking and unlearning that at 47 years old, when thought I had a pretty good grasp on things. Being okay with humility and asking questions and not assuming I have every answer. Being okay with, I don't know, but let's find out. I never really thought of I don't know as a reasonable answer. But instead of just talking to hear myself talk because parents are supposed to have all the answers, being okay with I don't actually know. When you put it that way, yeah, it sounds like patriarchy, sounds like white supremacy, sounds like misogyny. Let me unpack that. Didn't think about it that way. Hold on, I'll be right back. And learning, like being okay with asking questions and thinking, being okay with a different way of thinking about being a parent, teaching and shaping and guiding young Black women, being a Black woman myself and freeing myself of so much shit that got put on me that has stopped me from living my full potential and really experiencing freedom. It's obviously been a very long road. I've jacked that up many times, but just coming to every space with humility and being okay, listening more than I'm speaking. Not right now because we're tired, but
exactly.
Normally
it's your time. It's your time.
Just learning.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And I feel like a lot of us are on that journey of unlearning. So to see you, really have this platform and be able to do that so openly is very inspiring. You've talked a lot about, raising your kids, and especially in times where we are surrounded by Black death. Not only is it coming from state violence and, racial violence, but also from COVID. We are more susceptible to dying, to contracting it, and to at risk for dying it, dying from it rather. How have you been able to process everything that's going on right now, but also talk to your children about it?
The reality is just being completely honest. You can't process it because the information changes every day. The thing that we tend to know as Black folks that there's probably going to be a through line at the end and it's not going to be beneficial to us. We're in it. Literally every day we are inundated with death from COVID and death that's been snatched from us. I wish I had a better handle on it. It just all is traumatizing and does not help my PTSD. And so much of how I deal with my PTSD and the anxiety is trying to control as much as I can. Mm-hmm. But I can't control COVID. I can't control, our teens are 18. They're adults. They're about to be done with high school. And I'm terrified. I'm just terrified. I haven't processed that. All I can do is talk to them, be as honest as I can, share the most updated information, but also teach them to question things. Been having this conversation a lot lately about you have to do your own research for yourself, and just because someone says it doesn't make it true. And as much as I'd like to think that that we can, cover you at all times. You guys want your independence. You want to learn what life is like on your own. you have no idea. You have no idea. And me sending you information, and they've seen the videos, it still doesn't sink in because, they're young and you think, but not me though. And it's not you until it is.
Yeah.
Right? That's just the reality. And so I honestly don't know, other than sharing the most updated information about all of it. And what the harder parts are, you can share the story about the people who threw a Rona party for the purpose of getting the Rona, and how that might be not so wise. That's pretty idiot proof, whatever. But when they see videos of young Black women, the heroes that the media are, EMT, hero, saving lives, she's asleep and murdered by the Louisville police.
Yeah.
And they're like, why? And how many times can you say anti-Black racism, institutionalized racism, systemic racism, and it can strike at any time to anyone. Even when they call you a hero, they might murder you in your sleep. Yeah, and that's just every day.
Yeah,
every day.
Yeah.
I was about to record a video, and I'm reading the copy, and I was like, in the few days from the time they sent me this, there's more hashtags, so you have to update the murders. You have to update the victims. There's more hashtags in days. And I don't ever want to be able to process that or understand it, because I can't ever, no one should be able to make sense or explain away something that is unexplainable and rooted in evil. And the fact that there's nothing that can insulate you from that, they're very aware that, LeBron, most famous athlete in the, one of the most famous athletes in the world, still had nigga written on his garage door. You can speak the Queen's English and all the respectability politic bullshit, and guess what? You too. So, what do you say? Don't exist? Well, we kind of shot past that. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. I don't think any of us do. I truly don't think any of us do. It's a lot to be in quarantine and have to process, and literally every day is something new. But I'm wondering how you're taking care of yourself. What's your self-care routine?
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Honestly, some days it's reading, just giving myself a few minutes extra in the bathroom. I'm gonna fully, be transparent. I hide in the bathroom some days. I just do, and I hope my family understands. And Mama needs more than a minute, and I'm in here crying, and I just need a minute to just read or play words with friends or take a bath or just sit outside by myself and think. And some days it's wine, and some days it's tequila, and etc.
Some days it's both.
So I don't know what the right answer is, because this shit has never happened. This is a global pandemic that no one's ever been. It's just no one's ever experienced it. So. Right. I listen to Brené Brown. I listen to the apps. I, try to unfollow people that give me anxiety on social media. I'm muddling my way through like everybody else.
Yeah, you can only do what you can do. You can only do what you can do.
And some days are better than others. Some days I just sound like a hippie, and I've got my crystals, and I spray my sage spray, and I light my spray.
Wow, you think you mean
all the things, and then some days I'm like, F your sage, it's not enough. It's not enough. I feel like I wake up and I feel terror.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is, I don't know how to get a handle on my PTSD. There's not enough Zoom therapy sessions that I could have to prepare me for this.
Mm-hmm.
I have those as well. I'm a big proponent of therapy. But yeah, however, today is perfect.
Yeah, day by day. Some good news. LA's Finest will be on Fox this fall. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, ass backwards, and we will take
right.
it. Right. No one has ever done this route, like where we were an NBC pilot that got passed on by NBC. We launched Spectrum streaming platform, and then we end up back on a different it's just never been done, and I'm just grateful. And everyone whose jobs are on this show, we're just grateful, to have another opportunity to work and to be seen. And it's never been done, and we're like, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah, but I know it has to be a breath of fresh air, especially because, as you noted, I believe that was last week, Black Hollywood, they are suffering, at a disproportionate rate than, others, their white counterparts. And I love that you are not only in front of the camera, but you're also behind the camera, with, I'll have another. What support, what resources do you think Hollywood needs to give Black Hollywood? Or does Black Hollywood just need in general post-corona? Or I don't even know if it's post-corona, but it's the reality,
Well, none of us know how we're going to come out of this, right? What Hollywood's going to look like. You see people's deals being announced every day, but none of us have any clue about when they're going to open up Hollywood, what that looks like. Can you do that without a vaccine? Like, nobody knows. Like, somebody asked me the other day about romantic scenes, and I was like, most scenes are still like this, but you're not making out with somebody. Like, all my scenes with Jessica are about this close. Can you what is it gonna look like? So we don't even know how we're gonna work. I don't know, the information is obviously going to change, but what I do know is that when we get the information, or whatever gatekeeper that, that is in the marginalized communities gets that information, you better fucking share it. Sorry, I'm cussing again. You better share it. I don't know. I hope one of the things that people take out of this is that success can look different. It doesn't. It can be a redistribution of wealth, opportunities, resources. You can share resources and information, and it doesn't take anything away from you. It's not going to negate your accomplishments if you share information that is critical to more success and more opportunities. One of the things that we've all been discussing in the last couple of days since the death of Andre Harrell is one of the things that made Andre so special. And if you guys have a chance to watch The Black Godfather about Clarence Avant, there's a whole section in there about Andre and Clarence. But if there's not those people who are willing to hip you to game and pull you to the side, good or bad, you're doing a disservice. Like you are stopping progress when you don't share information. And Dre, he did that constantly. And it was so beautiful. And he gave you praise. I didn't even think he knew who the hell I was. And the first time I met him was at this club on Sunset years ago that used to be popular. And usually in my crew, I was the good personality chick, and I was with the more typical LA hot girls who got the ton of attention. And they're like, oh, but your other friend, the brown one, she's funny. And I'm like, I'll take it, whatever. We were at one of those tables, and most of the guys that were coming up were trying to talk to my friends. And this guy kind of leans over our table, and he said, I hope you know you're going to be a star. I was like 23. I hadn't done anything, and so I doubt he saw Saved by the Bell, the new class. And I was like, thank you. I'm like, he's going to ask me about my friends, or he's going to be a creep or whatever. And that's all he said, and walked away. And it wasn't through years. I've run into him years later. And he said, do you remember what I told you? And I didn't think he would remember me. I thought it was like a line or whatever. And I said, okay, I didn't think you were going to remember, but, you know, in that crowd especially, like, I was never seen. Nobody ever thought of me as anything. And you said that, and I really haven't forgotten it. And, you know, star is subjective. You go from it girl to shit girl, but, like, to have somebody see you, you know, and then from that point on, like, when we actually became friends, he always hit me to game. You know, like, Dre, you know, he went into TV and film stuff, but he's a music cat. But the worlds are very similar, and how you negotiate contracts, how you bridge those communities, how you put people on, how it's okay to decenter yourself in a narrative and still consider it success. And to have to for the world to be without people like Dre, it just sucks. But we have to pass that baton and give that information enthusiastically. You know, when we talk about, you know, my friends who, you know, gig, right? So if you're in hair and makeup, whether you're in the union or not, people who had gigs in January, you have 90 days to get paid, right? So if a company that you had a gig for in January declares for bankruptcy or they're furloughed, the check that you were expecting in March or April isn't here. So when I talk about Black Hollywood, I'm not just talking about actors that you've heard of or the famous producers or directors or whatever. The Black Hollywood that is the nuts and bolts of Black Hollywood, people you may never know their names, but they're equally as vital and as important, and we can't forget their stories and their plights. And even if you had a steady gig, those checks may or may not good gig, and you don't have you're trying to get a guest spot on something or a recurring on something. To have no work indefinitely, you don't even have the hope of a job. You know what I'm saying? And it was already hard to begin with for us. It's hard for, you know, all marginalized folks. But when people think of Hollywood, they think of rich folks. And even the rich folks that you think are rich folks, it's not always what you think. Right. And missing money affects us all, and because we're all interconnected. And yeah.
It's a lot going on. That's such a beautiful story about Andre. Gabrielle, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out to speak wisdom, drop knowledge. You know, I feel like every time you speak, it's just like everyone is hanging on to your every word. So thank you so